Hey guys, welcome back to HotS Thoughts. As you can see today, I am not at home. I am staying at a friend's house. And apologies for the wet hair as well. I just got out of the shower and didn't feel like waiting an hour to make a video. So, today we're going to be talking about shift command techniques. Now, this is like a pretty obvious, pretty basic concept, but I find it's something that people are still, actively discovering, and especially people who are new to the game don't really know much about this. Uh, the nice thing about it though is once you start to get a feel for it, you can actually use some real life applications for it. There are actually some really useful ways to use shift that you may not have thought of before. So let me just go over, the basics. So shift commanding is basically, you basically just do a command and then you press shift and then you press another command. So, you can say, all right, I want to go to this spot and then I want to go to that spot. It's pretty straightforward. This is for some people coming from other games and things like that. I know, for instance, League of Legends does not have shift queuing. You press shift, that's the attack command. So they may not be as familiar with shift queuing. I come from a StarCraft background, so it's very obvious to me. Like, I'm very used to that whole shift queue thing. But it's something to learn, something to practice. But it allows you to chain together commands in an intelligent way, and sometimes you can chain together really more complex actions together so that you can actually do quite a bit more than you wanted to before. So, for instance, very straightforward, very obvious one. If you've ever had that moment where you want to mount up and then you want to like move immediately when you're done mounting up, a lot of people, I know I did this for a long time in the alpha and the beta. For a long time, what I did was I would mount up and like right when it finished, I would click. What you can actually do is you can press Z, shift, click, and as soon as you finish mounting, you'll immediately start moving. That's a very straightforward one. You can also do this for channeling tributes and things like that. If you're channeling like an altar and a tribute and you want to immediately move away as soon as you're done, you can click on the tribute and then shift click somewhere else and you'll immediately walk away from it. You can even do this for backing as well. This is something that I've done more often. When you Hearthstone out, you go back to your base, you can shift click back on the map. So what I'll often do is I'll press B, shift click, and if I'm not that low on mana or health, then I'll just immediately I'll walk in, I'll get that instant heal from the Hall of the Storms, and just immediately walk back to lane with like 90% health mana, which is useful in some cases. Sometimes it's not worth it to just stand in base and wait until you have that whole 100%. So that's something that's very useful, especially if you're playing something like Vikings or something like that. You can kind of just tell them, all right, back, and then immediately come back to the lane, and that's taken care of. You don't have to think about it. So these are basic stuff, and you can also put some of these together. You can channel a tribute and then immediately mount up and move. These are all viable things that you can do. You can also channel a tribute and then like immediately back, stuff like that. Actually, I don't know if you can do immediately back. I'm not sure if B shift queues should, but I don't think I've ever actually tried it. More obvious thing is you can also take safer routes. There are some maps like Cursed Hollow and Towers of Doom, for instance, that have some really bad routes and some really good routes. And if you're not really paying attention, if you just click on the map and don't pay attention to where your hero is walking, sometimes that can cause trouble. But it's a lot easier, if you say like, oh, I want to take the safe route instead of having to click and like follow your hero all the way around. You can just click on the mini map and just go shift, click, 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 and they'll walk around the safe way instead of going the more dangerous route. It's more direct. There's you can also do this with wells as well. Tapping is a really important concept. Just like channeling a tribute or whatever. Like if you want to tap the well, you just right click on the well, shift click back to wherever you want to go, and you'll tap the well and immediately bounce back the other way. So these are all very basic techniques, very simple things. If you've never done this before, then you should probably start doing it, because it just makes your gameplay a lot more fluid and more efficient, and it will feel better. But if you stay with me this long, I will admit there are actually some really good real life applications that I'd like to show now. So for instance, let me see. Boop. Okay, so one of the best ones that I can think of off the top of my head is, so here is specific. You can actually, I will start with the Vikings, because the Vikings are the most obvious example, right? The Vikings are very much like a StarCraft type hero, where you can move them all independently, and you're kind of paying attention to several different areas on the map. This is probably going to also be important with Samuro, with his 3 mirror images as well. So basically, here's simple stuff. So like, no, stop. So like, for instance, one of the things that people always face is they're like, I don't know what to do when like I clear a lane, or like I'm not sure how to keep my Viking from just doing this, where they just walk into the enemy and die, right? You know, you're looking away, and then like you look back and he's dead. So what you do is, some people will say just like tag move into a bush. There's actually, you know, you can also use shift keys for this as well. You know, you can say attack there and then move to that bush. Basically, as soon as he gets done clearing this wave, and he'll move to that bush. Okay, let me help him out. Fortunately, he kind of follows the hero, but you know, if you're in a lane by yourself, like that's not much of an issue. So you, like I said, you can also do like the back shift command. So that was, I just backed and then immediately shift clicked right next to him. We'll see, he'll go back and walk all the way back, no problem. It's also really nice if you go Eric Swift. So say for instance, you know, you're playing Eric, you walk in the lane. It gets damaged a little bit, right? And you need to heal up. The easiest way to do this is you can actually just do like that and then look away. You know, you can do this like behind the gate where he'll be safe. And by the time that you come back, he's full health, right? And then you just walk back out of the gate, you're good. So, small things like that are really useful. You can also do this like if you want to take them on like a certain route. Like I want you to go bribe this camp or whatever. You know, you can do that. You know, you can also do it if you want to control like the way that they move. So it's stuff like this. Allows you to just kind of micromanage them a little bit better. Shift queuing is one of those things that if you're not doing it, you're not going to be able to play the Vikings very well. So that's something that's definitely worth working on. The other one that really stands out to me is Tyrael with Eldarine's Might. This is a technique that I have been using basically ever since I started playing him. And it's something that I don't think enough people do. And it's probably like the most useful thing that you'll ever learn about Tyrael. So, one of those things, so Tyrael's Eldarine's Might is one of those things that, I'm going to toggle cooldowns, is one of those things that it has a max range, right? But he won't just throw it in any direction. If you cast it outside his max range, he'll walk to wherever he has to and then cast it, right? So what this means is, you know, sometimes you'll run into like this really weird moment where you're like trying to cast it, but like you're not sure exactly how far the max cast is. So you know, you'll be like, oh no, I need to like cast it, but like you can't quite get it exactly. Like you want to get close to the enemy team, but like you don't want to get too close. There's a very easy way to do this. What you do is you just shift queue it. So basically you press Q and shift back. I'll always cast it at max range. then you can use that. So like, you know, for instance, if you're trying to holy ground this area right here, then you can like walk forward through it like that, and then jump back. That. So that's one of those really basic simple things that will make your life so much easier. Oop. So one more time. So really simple stuff like that. Like that's really nice, and you can technically do this for any sort of skill shot that works like this. That you know you have to walk up and throw, or walk up and use. Finally. So for instance, like basically any single target spell, like a heal or something like that. If you're playing like Malfurion and you just want to like cast your regrowth at max range, you know, like you would just press Q on the hero that you want to click on, and then just immediately shift Q back, right? That keeps you from getting like too close up to the front line. And you can also do this, you know, on other heroes that have damage things. Like if you're playing Kael'thas and you want to use a Flame Strike, like right on this area, you would do like that, and then walk back, and he would walk up to max range, cast the Flame Strike, and then walk back. And this just keeps you from, this allows you to maintain your distance and keeps you from walking into danger, right? There are a few other examples. For instance, you can use this to get out of certain stuns and delays. So for instance, like two particular things come to mind. Two particular instances in pro play. Right? There was the Brightwing polymorph on ETC during Mosh Pit. I don't know if you guys remember this. This was Panda Global versus Team Blaze, I believe. I believe those were the two teams, and this was back in, it was like in April or something like that. It was a while ago. And basically what happened was, I believe it was Huge playing Brightwing. He phase shifted in to somebody who was standing in a mosh pit and polymorphed the ETC before he got stunned by the mosh pit. So the way that he did this, a lot of people thought he just like teleported in and then just pressed the polymorph and like it just magically worked. But he queued this up. So basically what he did was he did the phase shift and then immediately shift polymorph on the ETC. And what that did was, as soon as he got in, the polymorph was immediately on top of the ETC, and it happened to hit in that like 0.25, 0.5 second refresh time that's in between mosh. There's another example. For instance, if you remember Mary Day, there was a really sick GIF of Mary Day making an amazing play where basically his entire team was caught in a void prison, and somehow right when the void prison came out, like he jumped out of it and then palmed somebody just in time to save them before he got caught in the wombo as well. So the way that he did that was he also shift queued to a minion. He dashed to a minion as he was still inside the void prison. So basically what that did was, as he was still sitting in the void prison, as soon as it ended, he immediately dashed to that minion before any of the other stuns could land, and then he was able to get free of all that CC and use his abilities freely. So that's one of those things that you have to keep in mind. You can get out of certain stuns and things like that. Like if you get caught in a Malfurion regrowth and you need to like quickly escape, you know, you can either, you know, like click away, or you can just like calmly shift queue if you need to. That maybe not be like the greatest example, but there are several cases where shift queuing can actually save your life if you're paying attention and playing well. So these are just general things. I hope helps you out. If anybody has
great wealth of spare time, perhaps we would make better use of it fighting.
Wow. Okay, that's BM material. I believe Tyrael just told me that my video was a waste of time. Anyhow, Shift queuing is one of those things that will help you out a lot and will make you a much better player. If you have any other ideas for specific heroes, if you have any specific techniques that you use, like the Eldarin's Might trick, then let me know in the comments down below. Give me feedback on this video if I'm doing a good job or bad job, whatever. I am open to literally anything. So I appreciate you guys watching. This was a bit of a shorter video, but I hope to be making more of these soon. Alright, see you guys later. Bye.